Hello class and welcome to another exciting facilitation for this semester. I am Dr. Annie George, Department of Public Health, Faculty of Health Sciences, and will be your guide. Hope we'll all enjoy it. Thank you. So welcome to another week of our facilitation session. We'll be dealing with topic 6 this week, organization and presentation of data. We've looked at how to collect data, sources of data and how to collect it. This week, when you've collected the data, we'll talk about how to organize it and present it. So at the end of this lesson, we will see different tabular ways of presenting data, and we'll understand how to group and present them into the different ways of presenting data, like lists, frequency tables, relative and cumulative frequency tables. So tabular presentation of data. Presentation of data in a tabular form can be in a form of lists, it can be in form of frequency table, it can come as relative frequency table, and it can also come as cumulative frequency table. So how do you list your data? How do you form a list of your data? List is basically the simplest form of a table. It usually consists of two columns. The first column is the observational unit, which is the serial number or number of the items. And then the second column is the value of the variable for that unit. That is the variable you're measuring and the units of measurement. That comes on the second column. So the next slide, we will have an activity. Activity 1. So activity 1, list 5 200 level students' weight in National Open University of Nigeria. So like I said, list is basically two columns. One is the identity number, which is the serial number, and the other one is the variable. So the variable we're talking about here is the weight. 5 students at 200 level. So serial number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and their corresponding weights, which is the variable on the other column. That is what we're going to measure and list. So here we are, the serial number 1 to 5 and their corresponding weight in kilogram. The first person measured, first student at 200 level measured 50 kg, the second person 500, third person 50 kg, fourth person 65, and the fifth person 55 kg. So from list, you can see the example of what a list is. Two columns. Now we'll go to frequency table. Frequency table, on the other hand, consists of 3 columns. 3 columns, unlike the other one that consists 2 columns. In frequency table, you have the observational unit, which is the identity number, the serial number. Then you have the second column, which is the variable, like the weight we measured. So the third column now is the corresponding frequency of each of those variables, as in how many times did the weight of 50 kg appear, how many times did the weight of 65 kg appear, or did you measure them, as in how many students at 200 level had a weight of 50 kg or had a weight of 65. That is the corresponding frequency. So frequency table is basically like I said, forms 3 columns. However, you can have an ungrouped data in a frequency table, and you can also have grouped data. In an ungrouped data, the data is usually relatively large, not really large, but relatively large, and you have to put it in such summary table called the frequency table. However, in group data, it's much larger than ungrouped data. And it could be in continuous, what we call continuous variable. So you have to put it in a summary table in classes. So as we go on, you will see the difference. So this is a frequency table. You can see it's 3 columns: the serial number, the weight in kg, and then the frequency, the third one. So the 50 kg weight appeared twice, 55 appeared twice, and 65 once. So this kind of frequency table is frequency table for ungrouped data. You know, the values are not many, so you can just group it. So you have single discrete values like 50 kg, 55, 65. Then we have relative frequency as one of the tabular ways of presenting data. We've talked about list, we've talked about frequency table, then we'll talk about the relative frequency table. In relative frequency is usually when you have grouped data. Like you can see, you have the serial number, you have the class. That means you group them into class. A class of 40 to 49, a class of 50 to 59, class between 60 to 69, and thereon to 80, 89. You can see their corresponding frequencies, the number of times a class of 40 to 49 appeared, the number of times 50 to 59 appeared. And then you have the relative frequency table. And then in decimal, and then in percentage. So how do you get the relative frequency? You have the frequency here. You have the frequency here. So you divide each of the frequency by the total frequency. So you have 5 over 50 will give you 0.1, 17 over 50 will give you 0.34, 13 over 50 will give you 0.26, and then there to 2 over 50 will give you 0.04. So if you total this is equal to 1. Of course, the relative frequency in percentage, if you just divide this by 100, you get 10. 0.34 by 100, you get 34, and that's equal to 100. So this constitutes the relative frequency in decimal point and in percentage. So now, in the next slide, we'll have another activity. So activity 2. What are the values of the cumulative frequency on the table? Now, we've talked about lists, we've talked about frequency table, we've talked about relative frequency. Now we will talk about the last one, which is the cumulative frequency. These are the 4 ways of presenting data in a tabular form. So the cumulative frequency, what are the values that will get into this cumulative frequency? Here we are. Remember, in the group data, you can see the intervals, 40 to 49, 50 to 59. You group it into interval. So all the people that fall, or the measurements that fall into this group, make up this number of frequencies, which totals to 50. So in other words, the number of participants, or the number of people you measured, they are 50. And this is the corresponding number of people or frequency that falls within this class, The lowest class number is 40 and the highest class number is 89, and you can see the class difference, or the class interval, 40 to 49, 50 to 59, an interval of 10, 10, 10 at each of the classes. So now, how do we calculate the cumulative frequency? Cumulative frequency of the first class, which is 40 to 49, is 5. Now the succeeding cumulative frequency, the first one still remains that 5. The succeeding one becomes addition of the first and the succeeding one, which is 5 plus 17 will give you 22. Then the third one will be the total here, 5, 17 plus 13, which is 35. So you can also be going down that with 35 plus 13 will give you 48, 48 plus 2 will give you 50. So that gives you the cumulative frequency for this table. So in this topic, we've learned how to present data in tabular form using the lists, the frequency table, the relative and the cumulative frequency tables, and you can see the differences in all of them. Then we have also learned how to calculate the relative and cumulative frequencies of ungrouped and grouped data. So in our next lecture, we will be discussing measures of central tendency. Thank you for listening.